This is the only setup you need if you want to complete an actually private AI workflow inside OpenClaw. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to be using OpenClaw alongside with Venice and use our entire API endpoint library across text, image, video, audio, and much more without having to plug in 5 or 6 different providers for each one of these things. And the best part is that it is in a completely private setup. Now, one thing it's worth doing from the start if you really want a completely private setup with OpenClaw is doing it from a brand new user in your operating system. I'm using Mac OS here, and I'm going to create a user specifically to use with OpenClaw, and so that my agent don't have access to my everyday data and workflow and private stuff. Now, Venice being privacy focused doesn't magically make this entire workflow private if you don't take precautions. For example, if you just give the agent reckless access to your machine, or if you install random plugins, then of course this can become a very non-private setup very quickly. So this is why we're doing it in a separate user in our operating system. Now we're going to be very deliberate about which types of tools and actually models we let our agent choose. So let's look at what the setup will look like. Now, first, we're going to connect OpenClaw to Venice with a Venice API, and then we're going to verify that OpenClaw can talk to Venice models directly, right? After that, we're going to add Venice skills to the agent so that it can go beyond just the chat and actually be able to use broadly the entire capabilities of the Venice API for media, creative workflows, and whatever we want to do, right? Finally, I'm going to show you how to turn this into a real private creative agent that can actually take a rough idea, go through the library of the Venice API, and turn hooks, scripts, videos, audios, and just everything from one single setup, right? And because Venice offers both open source private models, but also anonymized frontier closed source models such as Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.4, for example, we can start with the most private models by default and only widen it to closed source models if we explicitly decide to. Now, the first thing we're doing here is, of course, to get our Venice API key. So let's go to Venice.ai, click on sign up, and if it's the first time you're using the platform, create a new account. After you're in, on the left sidebar, you're going to click on API. And on the API page, you can click on generate a API key. Give your key a name. I'm putting OpenClaw demo. Then click on the create button. Copy that key that shows up. Make sure to store it somewhere safe because you're not going to see it again, but you can always generate a new key. And this is the key that we're going to use to give OpenClaw access to the entire Venice library of endpoints. If this is your first time using the Venice API, you're going to have to top up your account with some credits. You can come here on purchase credits and top up your account with either USD or crypto. You can also use the Venice API with DIEM, where 1 DIEM is equal to $1 per day of credits forever. I'm going to leave the link to that on the description so you can learn more about DIEM if you want to. But after that, on the Venice API documentation, let's go to the OpenClaw Venice guide. You can find it here on the left sidebar in the guides section. And scroll down a little bit. And let's install OpenClaw to our machine using this curl command right here. Now let's open a new terminal and paste this command into it to launch the OpenClaw installer. This might take a couple of minutes. If you're doing it from a brand new user, make sure you have the necessary permissions or packages that you need to be able to run this. It may be different depending on the operating system, but here I made sure that my system can access packages like Homebrew and NPM so I can run this. Okay, so OpenClaw is installed and it's going to prompt you a question to configure the gateway token. So the gateway token is a secret used to authenticate the request between OpenClaw components and the gateway service. We are going to enable that right now. It doesn't affect privacy, is actually good. So we're going to put yes. Now this next option is to tighten the permissions on the OpenClaw directory to 700. This actually is good because it reduces the exposure to other users in the same machine or badly configured shared environments. It's a great practice to make sure only your user account can access that directory. So we're also marking yes for this one. Now this create a session store option creates a place where our session data can be stored. This means more data is persisted locally. Since I'm on a brand new user that is completely isolated and private and secure, I'm going to do this on my machine. So I'm going to set yes. Same thing here for the OAuth directory. This creates a place where our credentials and tokens may be stored locally. Again, since I trust my local machine, I'm going to also set yes to this one. Now let's install the gateway service and select the node option to the service runtime. Now all I have to do is run the onboarding command, choose the Venice option in OpenClaw, paste my Venice key, and then OpenClaw can discover the entire Venice model catalog automatically. I don't have to do anything for that. Now on a brand new terminal, let's just run OpenClaw onboard and let's set yes here for this question. I understand this is personal by default. Onboarding mode, let's do quick start. And for the model provider, let's go down until we find Venice AI. Now let's paste our Venice API key that we saved earlier. We're going to choose our default model as Kimi 2.5. It is a very strong model with good coding abilities. It's also able to reason, to do vision tasks, which is very useful for us as a general model. Of course, we can always change which models we want to be chatting with or use for specific tasks later on, but this is a very good general default model. Here we can see more models we can choose from, like Opus 4.5, 4.6, Cloud Sonnet, DeepSeek, Gemini, GLM 4.7, 5, 4.6, and also other GPT models. And of course, we're going to also be working with a lot of multimodal models, image, video models that are not here, but all through the same Venice API. As we go through the general OpenClaw setup, we don't need to check any of these boxes or give the agent access to any tools right now. We can do that later on once it's already connected to the Venice API. And we can add more skills to our agent once we get there. So for this part of the quick start, let's just skip the select channel. Let's not give the agent access to any external tools like this right now. Venice already has web search and web scrape built into the API, so you don't need to set up an external provider for that. It comes automatically when we're using the API. Now, if you want to use other search tools such as Xsearch that comes with XAI models, you can also do that by using XAI models via the Venice API. So there's only one API key needed here. We don't need to set this up. An OpenClaw skill is basically a structured instruction pack that teaches the agent how to use a specific capability or a specific skill. So at the simplest level, a skill is a folder with a skill.md file or something like that. In that file tells OpenClaw things such as what the skill is called, what it does, what tools or even what binaries it depends to work on, in any other instruction on what is the agent supposed to do to be able to use it, right? We can even create our own skills or use skills created by other users to use a specific tool, but we are not going to be configuring our agent skills just yet, so let's just skip this part for now. Enable hooks, we can skip that for now, but we can configure it back later as we improve our OpenClaw setup. And here, gateway service already installed. I guess I'll just go ahead and reinstall the gateway service. And now finally, we see the option to hatch our bot, and I'm going to choose to do it via the web UI. Okay, our bot is live. I'm gonna say, hi, my name is Sabrina. And then the bot's going to connect to the Venice API and use the Kimi K2.5 model to reply back. It's asking me who it is. I'm going to say your name is Okay. And it's asking me what kind of creature am I. Now, here I'm going to try to define what we want from our agent. Now, I mentioned before we are building a creative agent that will be able to have access to the entire Venice API across image, audio, video, and etc. So I'm going to tell it that. So we're going to be using two specific skills here. The first one is Venice AI, and the second one is Venice AI Media to give more access to things like image and video to our agent. Right, so I'm going to mention this in this message here, and the agent will already be able to fetch those skills from the Claw Hub. Okay, so now we can ask the agent, tell me what you can do based on the skills you just acquired. And here we can see the agent already has text and audio abilities around like text to speech, speech to text, embeddings for semantic search, um, generate images, upscale images, edit images, image to video, video to transformation, and a few other things. Now, if you ever want to see the skills you have installed, just go to the skills tab on the left sidebar. You're also going to see the option to browse the skills store, search for other skills. Right now, we only have these two skills built in, and this is going to be enough for now. So after all of this, our agent should be completely connected to the Venice API and now be able to use endpoints such as image, video, editing stuff, audio, and much more. So let's see what it actually looks like in a quick demo. And I'm gonna open a brand new session for that. And I have a prompt here that I prepared that I want my agent to follow, where I specify exactly what I want it to do and which models it should choose for each action that I think it's going to be the best model for that. So I say here, hey, I need your help with something fun. I'm writing an alien invasion story. I want the first chapter in a full multimedia piece, text, narrated audio, and short video. You can do this all through the Venice API. Let's make it happen. And then I tell a little bit about the story, kind of the vibe that I'm looking for here, the characters, Mira and Joel. I tell it a little bit about them, about like the radio that they're listening to, and details about how I want the chapter to be. And I tell it here I need an ending that makes people desperate for chapter 2. Here, for the audios, I'm asking it to use the Qwen3 TTS family of models. That's a new text-to-speech models that we just added to the Venice API. And for the videos, I'm specifying it to use VO 3.1 full quality, which is a model that I know is very good and can also output audio. So I want the videos to have dialogue. So that's why I'm specifically asking for that. But you can also ask your bot to look for a model that has audio if you don't have one in mind. And here I'm asking you to create 4 to 5 video prompts that walks us through the chapter scene by scene. And here I give it a few more instructions. And at the end, I close it off with everything that the bot needs to do. So let's see how this goes. And here the bot is actually prompting me for my API key, since apparently it can't access the one that we added earlier to the general models, the one that we added on the setup. And the benefit of being a completely private setup, so far I don't have any external tools connected, just the Venice API key, is that this key will not be leaked outside of this local environment. So I can safely do that for now, at least while this environment is completely isolated. All right, so let's give the bot a few minutes here. Videos and long audios usually take a little bit of time to create. So let's just wait and come back to see the final results. Okay, so after a few minutes, the bot is ready. Now let's open the folder where it stored the files. Here we can see the static videos, which is where the bot stored the videos and images that we asked for. And here it has a alien invasion chapter 1.md file where it has the entire chapter written down. And our audio file is also here generated, narrating the chapter in voice. We can see here in the static videos folder a few images relating to the chapter that it wrote. We can see here Mila and Joel. And it generated the images here and it created the videos from the images. I'm going to leave the link to all of these files and the outputs on the description, and whatever I can also get from this bot around this story. And remember, all this was just using one single API key, accessing multiple different endpoints, and still there's much more we can explore. So stay tuned, give it a like and a comment if you want more videos like this, and see you in the next one.
Sarah.
The apartment breathes.
Thomas.
Somewhere outside, something screams. Not human, not animal. Just wrong.
What do?
We open it.